All right, so for our second example, you can see we have this products page, and each product has an image and then a little bit of description and a buy button. And basically, if we had a bunch of products on this page, this would start to take up a lot of space. So we want to condense it so that we only see the images at first, and then when we hover over the images, we actually get to see the descriptions and that buy button. So let's look at how we can do that. So somehow we're going to need to contain the description inside of this image. And you can see that in the HTML, we actually have it set up so that the product image and the product description are both inside this thumb class. So first off, let's go ahead and we're going to set the thumb class to have a height of 250 pixels. And we're going to set the overflow to hidden. And you can see now that we can't see that description. It's hidden below the cutoff. So somehow we're going to need to make it so that when we hover over one of these images, that description div pops up and hovers over the actual image. So we're going to be needing to do some positioning to the product image div and the product description div. And to be able to do that, we're actually going to want to set the position on thumb, because if we are messing around with absolute positioning on these child classes, we're actually going to be positioning them relative to the whole document rather than to that thumb div. So let's avoid that by setting the position here to relative. So we know we're going to be doing some positioning both on the product image and the product description. So rather than add that position absolute attribute to both classes, let's add them to products. So we're going to say product. They're both going to have a position of absolute. We also know that we're going to want to keep our image position right where it is. So let's set top to 0 pixels. But we're also going to need to set where description is, because right now description is hidden behind that product image with a top of 0 as well. So we want it to actually be out of the page still. So let's give it a value of 250 pixels, and as you will probably recall, that's right below where thumb cuts off. So how are we going to make it so when we hover over these, image moves up and then the description moves up to take its place? Well, you may have guessed we're going to use thumb hover, and let's target the image first. So we're going to say image, and we're just going to set the top to negative 250 pixels. So now that we've done that, we see when we hover over these, image is being taken off the screen, but description's not showing up. So we need to fix that as well. And we're just going to set the top to 0 pixels. And now the description's actually showing up when we hover. So that's good, but how are we going to animate this? We already know about the transition property, but let's think really quick about where we want to add this to. We're animating the image and the description, but it's going to be kind of a pain to pass in that transition property to both classes. So let's just go back to this product class where we've set the position to absolute, and let's add in a transition there. And the property we're transitioning is top, so let's set it to that. Let's give it a second, and let's set the easing to ease. And now, when we hover over those, we're seeing that they're both sliding up together. But this still looks a little weird. I want it to actually look like the description is sliding up in front of the product image. So how could we do this? Well, we could use different transition properties to make that description class move faster than the product image, but that's not very efficient to be adding that to two different selectors. So instead, let's go and target the image. And we're just going to set the transition delay value to 0.5 seconds. And now we see they're animating separately. Let's speed things up a little bit to make that a little bit cleaner. Let's set the transition delay to 0.1 second. And let's set the top transition to 0.6 seconds. And now it's a lot more snappy, and you can actually tell that this description div is popping up in front of that image div. Feel free to keep messing around with this code if you want to, but if you're ready, let's jump on into the third example.